Well, hello and welcome to my channel. If you are learning Persian, which I hope you are, because it's a beautiful, gorgeous language that has a huge tradition, there are many things out there, and today we are going to discuss one particular book, which is this book. And I'm sorry, but I will have to talk ill about this book. It's not good. If you are learning Persian, definitely do not use this book. There are other materials available. But I did want to review the book because I think it's a good example of how not to make a book or not to make a grammar book. And I know making a book is difficult. Making this type of material is very, very difficult, and I don't want to talk just ill about this. Mr. Saeid Atoofi, which is a PhD who wrote this book, has made a good job. It's a good job. This book is definitely useful up to a point. And so I don't want to trash his work because he does not deserve it. But what I would like to do rather is to point out what the mistakes are and what things could be improved so other materials can come. The idea is not just to say that this book is useless. You won't learn much with it, definitely. So I will just point out the mistakes. I'm not recommending this book. I don't buy it because I think it will be a waste of money. So, but we can discuss things and see what can be done. So, first of all, positive aspects about the book that are actually useful. The grammar, I would say, is well explained. Conjugation of the verbs and so on. The use of certain verbs, it's also relatively well explained. So in terms of grammar, I would say it does make a good book. I don't know. I had the advantage of already knowing some parts of the Persian grammar, so it wasn't like all this new to me. The parts that were new to me in terms of things I didn't know before I came to this book were well explained. That's why I say that is decent in the explanation of new grammar points and old grammar points. I think the alphabet is also fairly well explained, which is useful. I know Arabic already, so I knew most of the stuff, but again, Persian is not just Arabic alphabet. Persian is an adapted Arabic alphabet, so it's not like you know in Arabic you will be able to read Persian. That is entirely wrong. So it's very helpful to have the reference, this book as a reference for learning how to write and how to read. The audio tracks concerning the how to write and the exercises about how to write and how to read are also helpful up to a point. And I would say that this is it. And you could say that, well, this is mostly what I want from a book of Persian. I would say, okay, yeah. But there are many things that need to be improved upon. The first of them being audio track quality. You need to have a clearer audio track in order for, like, if you have any background noise or you have any sort of like this white noise on the background of the track and the sound is not clear, especially on dialogues, it's not useful, especially at these stages. You have to consider that this is for beginners. This is meant for beginners. Now, in order for a beginner to actually start to get all the information, and especially this is a very crucial point. When you're a beginner, you need to get all the sounds right. If you don't get all the sounds right, you will, if you start making mistakes at this stage, you will drag along your entire life all these mistakes. So beginners is the moment where you have to correct all these tiny details concerning pronunciation and reading, writing, all these very simple but crucial abilities. If you let these things stay, you will drag them along the rest of your life. So it's important to have a huge set for a beginner's level. I'm talking. It's of utmost importance to have a huge audio track, very clear. You could say almost artificial, because not when you talk with someone, you are never going to have a clear sound. You are going to talk in a bar, in a restaurant where other people is talking, in the streets with car passing. It's all artificial, and we know. But it's important to have like a reference. It's important to have a reference for the student to know exactly in ideal circumstances how these words sound like. So it's and the more audio tracks there are, the better. Especially at this level, like if you grow up and you go past the A2 and you get in the realm of B1, it's okay. This shouldn't bother you much. But if you are within yet the A level of language, you should have the purest audio track there is, so the sounds are clear as water. So first of all, quality, not good. Quality needs to be improved upon. Now, second, and this is again concerning the audio. This book usually has a very repetitive structure, which is okay. Is what most grammar books look like. So you will start the lesson here, and this is a dialogue, a conversation between usually 2 or 3 people. And then you will go on with the book, going through vocabulary, then perhaps lessons of grammar, and then at the end of the lesson you would have like the alphabet that we discussed. And again, the alphabet part, very good. I think it's very accomplished. The writing and reading part, very accomplished. But the problems I want to talk about here are the dialogues. So this complaint is more about like how the dialogue should be thought, and than the audio track itself. Like there should be a clear audio track first of all. Then when you designed a dialogue for a beginner's level, you should never have like a 100% natural conversation. And you can say, but you should be able to, like to get into the everyday words like hello, good morning, how are you? All these things, these are natural conversations and you need to know them and so on. And this is absolutely true. But there is something particular about Persian language itself. Like Persian language is a very it's very, let's say, I don't know how to say it, maybe rhetorical. It's ceremonial language. So there are tons of phrases just to mean these different levels of relationship. There is a lot of courtesy in the language, like the amount of times that you have to decline an offer, although you are going in the end to accept it, but you have to pretend that you decline 2, 3 or 4 times, something like this. So there is this very particular aspect is present everywhere, in everything. Like if you are going to for example, there's a conversation in this book about like a taxi driver talking to like a client, And it's important because the taxi driver is going to say, like, when you pay the taxi driver is going to say no. So there is a cultural aspect to this, because there is a whole ritual, and you need to know these things in order to perform the ritual. And this is the problem with Persian language in particular, that you need to perform these rituals in order to be able to have a full conversation in Persian language, and especially like this. And again, the content of the dialogue is well designed, and these whole cultural points, Atoofi is really good at it. Like, I'm not going to complain about anything in this point, but when you look at it from a language learning perspective, learning these whole rituals is very difficult, and they require way more time. So in order to build up the whole thing that requires the performance of these rituals, you need to build up slower. You need to build everything up slower. So what I would recommend to any person trying to make a language, a grammar book about Persian language, and what I would recommend to Atoofi myself, had I the chance to talk with him, is that all these rituals need to be left maybe for another book, or maybe you need to, like, this book is fairly is in comparison with other books is what 150 pages, let's say, which is good. 150 pages is good, but like the typo is rather big. You could definitely you could fit more things within this book, or you make something different, and you either make this bigger, way bigger, like 300 pages or something like this, and you build up everything slower, because if the grammar, if you don't have, for example, enough space for the grammar itself and enough space for the grammatical exercises themselves, then it doesn't. The rituals don't matter, because you won't be able to perform them properly. Like, you may be like a parrot trying to repeat dialogues that you have listened to previously, but without proper grammatical context, you are not able to understand anything of what is going on. And if anything goes out of the script, then you are over, because if you have learned everything like a parrot and something goes wrong, like you misunderstand anything, or the driver or the taxi driver or the person you're talking to says like anything, like one word out of the script that you have learned, then you are over. So a proper I will show you, for example, this is chapter 4. So for example, you have here, like, you have your dialogue, and then you have vocabulary and more audio tracks concerning like some examples, sentences, and so on. And basically, then you go on with the writing and reading with some letters and so on. Then you have more vocabulary, and then you have one song at the end of the lesson, and a couple, like a few exercises. This is not good in terms of the dialogue is way more complex, and the dialogues usually, and this is a problem that plagues the whole book, is that the dialogues are way over the level the lesson is going to teach. Your dialogues should be at the level of what you are learning. If you are going to talk about in the lesson, if you're going to talk about, I don't know, present tense, whatever, use present tense with the amount of vocabulary that is right for that lesson, right for that student. And if this is a beginner's book, and I am on chapter 4, so I have only 3 previous chapters of vocabulary and grammar to as references. This dialogue is way above what I can withstand. Is way above it. Like it's not right. So for like, I don't know if he's going to make another book of, or if he's going to make, perhaps this is a second edition, maybe he will make a third edition. I bought this book like last year, if I record correctly. Maybe another book is on the way. So even though these fictional dialogues, because definitely they won't be real, like a dialogue that is prepared for a beginner's level should not be real. They don't have to be real. They have to include like elements of reality, but that's it. Like you should focus more on having larger text with the right amount of vocabulary, and having text or conversations or whatever you choose to do, but having them with the exact amount of grammar that you need to learn, because if you go way above it, you lose attention. You are going through the dialogue, you don't understand anything because the grammar is way above you, so your brain just loses it, and you can try to focus on keywords and vocabulary that you learn again, and you revisit the dialogue like 2 or 3 times. Again, it's not good. That's not good. The dialogue should, like these dialogues, especially at beginner's level, because then when you get to a B1 level, it's okay. You can go a way bit above the grammar that the student knows, because there is not, when you are on a B1 level, there is not that much grammar to learn anyways, beyond what you already know. The basics are already there when you get to B1. So just rewrite the conversations or dialogues, rewrite them entirely, so you have like simpler and longer, especially longer dialogues. If you take all the conversations here, and there are only, this book contains how many? 7 chapters. So this book has 7 chapters. With 7 chapters and a dialogue that barely lasts 2 minutes, you don't have enough. It's not enough. Like every lesson should have at least 2 dialogues, 3 dialogues. You should have plenty of them, actually. Ideally, you could have entire text entire text read out loud. So you could have like the text in the level you are. This is beginner's levels. So let's say like, I don't know, A1 level, I guess this is. So you have A1 level. Just read. Just have someone read in Persian a whole text written in the most simple grammar. Things that perhaps are not realistic. Things that perhaps are not that not match the reality of Iran, but have them read that, because this is a grammar or language book. So it's important first to build up a minimum amount of knowledge of the grammar and the vocabulary, and then you go and you teach all the ritual and all the cultural stuff. If you want to make it in one single book, this book should be 300 pages and should have at least hours, not 7 dialogues of 2 minutes tops. No, it should have at least double or triple that amount of dialogues, and those dialogues should be toned down to the level of the grammar you're teaching. So no dialogues about like a taxi driver and a whole thing about how to perform this ritual of saying no when you mean yes, and having to say that like 3 or 4 times in order to get to the point where you finally pay the taxi driver half an hour later. It's important that you can do that, because it's important to do it if you want to go to Iran. But make a choice. Do you want the person to go to Iran first, or do you want that person to have proper knowledge of the grammar first? So choose your priority, because I think there is only one true choice here, and that is teach first the grammar and teach first the vocabulary, even though unrealistic, and then you build up this ability to perform these rituals, and then make the person let's say fluent enough in Persian as to be able to perform these rituals even when they go out of the script, which is a reality that can happen as well. And if they don't have the basis, they won't be able to go outside the script. So I think that is it. I think this is it. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much to Atoofi, because he's made a huge effort, and I've been bitching about this book. I want, this is constructive criticism, because I don't want him to ruin I don't want to ruin his work. I don't want to make a complaint that is absolutely meaningless. The thing I'm saying as a language learner, what I think about this book and what I think it could improve this book. The things I've said, they are all meant to persons that people that work on this industry of producing learning material, and making learning material is very difficult. And Atoofi, although he has made what I think is not a sufficient good work in terms of teaching Persian, the fact that he has spent countless hours, because I cannot imagine how many hours have been devoted into this book, and Atoofi has been the one doing it. I've said this before, because I don't like trashing other people's work, and his work should be respected. It can be improved upon, and I'm sorry, but I cannot recommend this book if you want to learn Persian. Anyways, thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.